Welcome on to the Tortillas and Takes podcast, part of the 1012 network. As always, you are on with your boy, Albie Joe. And what a great game in the city of Houston, the city of the Purple Sprite, the city of Screw, all right, the city of Swang and Bang, the city of the Astros, the city of cheating if you're an Astros hater, but yeah, that's neither here nor there. Also, the city of World Series championships for all of you jamokes. The city of bad O-line play if you're a Texans fan. And also the city of L's if you're a Houston Cougar fan. And so to talk about the L that the Cougs took this past Saturday at the hands of the Red Raiders, we got a substitute teacher in the house, right? And so that means I want all y'all to behave, all right? And you know him, you love him. He's a Red Raider expert himself, Joe Lopez. What's going on, Joe?
You misspoke on championships is in plural. It's only one championship.
It's two championships, Joe. All right. We ain't playing that. 17 and 22. It was redeemed.
Yeah.
All right. It was redeemed.
Okay. Whatever you say. Great to be back.
The only championship we don't recognize is 2024. Don't recognize that one. Or 23, sorry. See, I don't even know the year. I don't even know the year it happened. We don't recognize that one. Right.
Nobody wants to remember that whooping we put on you boys in Houston.
Listen, that championship was disgusting. Okay, I've never been. I know we're very off topic, but you know what's funny about that championship? Everybody in Houston was like, you know what? We're not that good. We're okay not winning this year. We're fine. Until we played the Rangers, and it was like, if we lose this damn series. Oh my God, it's such a disgusting championship. I hate it. I hate it so much.
It's all good, man. Behave, everybody. Substitute teaching, been back, on the podcast, for the first time in a few months. So
yeah,
really looking forward to it. Tagging Jeremy out, for a little bit of time, and don't have any problem ever coming on and talking to you guys about Texas Tech, anything Texas Tech or anything in general. It's just great talking to you guys.
And it's great having you on here. So I appreciate you stepping in the fold. So let's talk about this game here against at Houston. So I was at the game. First, I want to talk about the atmosphere a little bit. All right. So I was at the game. And this is actually a flip-flop joke. Usually in yesteryear, I'd be asking you about how the atmosphere is. This time I'm going to take it from you and talk a little bit about it. So there was a lot of prior to the game, a lot of questions of how many Tech fans would be there. Right. And if you actually hear Houston fans tell it, they're trying to lie to y'all and say that, only 10%. It's only, I've actually even heard there was only like 10 to 15,000, which is funny because 10 to 15,000 is over a third of 15,000 is over a third of your stadium, by the way. I don't know if UH fans realize that, but that is not great. It's 15,000. And that's probably about what I would say. I have it in that 10 to 15,000 range. I tweeted out that I thought it was about 30 to 40% Tech fans, about 35%, which is about, I think that is 15% of the stadium capacity. It was also one of the highest attended games in University of Houston history. And I'm sorry, Cougar fans, that's a large amount because of how many Red Raiders were there. There were a lot of us, right? I will say shout out to U of H because it was a lot of us, but it was also a lot of them. Like, I'm not going to sit here and act like it was only us. It reminded me a lot of the TCU games. When we go to TCU usually has the majority of the fans there. However, we usually got about a third of the attendance at TCU games. So that's what it reminded me of, right? And so we were there. It was in Houston. I've been to a lot of U of H games, and Houston does this about once a year, where everybody shows up. They have a great tailgating atmosphere. They truly act like a real power conference school, and they really show out. They do that about once a year, and this was their game. This was that game. It was actually a really good environment, really good atmosphere. Red Raider tailgate was fantastic. Ahead of that time, but once we got in the stadium, and Jeremy and I were talking about in the preview pod. Even if we're not the majority of the crowd, we're always going to be louder than you. Y'all don't realize how loud we get because we ain't got no home training. So because of that, we're going to be louder than y'all. We're going to be more rambunctious than y'all. And the 30% that we represent is going to feel like at least half, right? Joe, I felt bad in the first quarter there was a loud Raider Power that was ringing. Loud Raider Power. And so the fan in my section tried to start a Cougs house. Nobody responded. Right? They don't got the same. I was like, I'm sorry, man. You tried. I respect it. Y'all don't got the same connection that we do over here. All right. You can't yell Raider Power without hearing you can't yell a Raider without hearing a Power on the other end. It's impossible. I could yell it at my house right now and Joe's going backdoor me. Whose house? Cougs house? It ain't the same. It ain't the same.
It doesn't even have a nice ring to it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't even roll off the tongue right. It's like,
a lot of people try, but they can't replicate. Yeah. They can't. It reminds me also of talking about reminding. You know, in Texas, they do the Texas fight thing. Same thing. It's not the same. It doesn't hit the same.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't hit the same.
No.
But yeah, with the band being there, I had called it pretty early when even in my prediction on Red Raider Sports, I was like, this is going to be a bona fide home game. Our band's going to, the going band from Raiderland, man. That's I haven't heard many better or seen much better in my life, as growing up watching college football. So them being in attendance, the full band, and then also being in a hub for, Texas Tech alumni. I mean, I was in that same kind of range where you were thinking 30 to 40. We had one of our guys out there taking pictures and sending us pictures of live updates of kind of like what the crowd was looking at. And, it was like, yeah, we should be okay here.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's almost kind of like similar to whenever we were doing the Baylor series in Arlington, the contingency of red and black was we would show up. We'd show up.
And which was always funny because Baylor would be having like 10-win seasons. We'd have 5-win seasons, and it would still be 60-40 Tech, 70-30 Tech. So I'm like, having one of the worst stretches ever, and y'all having one of the best, and it still don't matter. And that's just how we are. That's just how we're going to be. So atmosphere was very pro Tech, I would say, at the very least, pretty mixed overall. And as we get into the game, as the game starts, first drive led by Barry Morton, a drive that was really successful, started really well until it didn't. Right, we got all the way down to the to red zone, got down in that 1st and goal. But penalties are going to be the death of us, and that's really what killed that the end of that drive, and we had to settle for a field goal. But as bad as that was, I did kind of see a scenario where I'm like, well, Texas Tech's going to be able to really walk this defense down.
Yeah, early on, I thought the same thing. I was, and we'll get into the rest of how the first quarter played out anyway, that it was just, that game could have been over in the first, 28-3 potentially, that we left out there. So for me personally, after watching that, I was kind of like feeling that was not so much a letdown, but more or less, Houston doing what they were supposed to do. We didn't help ourselves in that particular moment, especially with those penalties and things like that. But, Houston did what they had to do. We got the penalties. It negated some yardage there, pushed us back from the goal line there. And then, they did what they had to do. A tough drop there. I think the ball went – was it the play where the ball went through Dickey's hands? Like, Morton had some zip on it. So, this ball was thrown pretty damn hard, and it just went through the midst of Cam Dickey. So,
yeah,
a lot of I would say that was an adrenaline drive. You're trying to get your feet under you in a football game. You're on the road. It's a big game. Everybody's still not quite believing in your team, in your process, or what this team could be potentially. So it was tough. You left some points out there. It wasn't the first drive where you left points on the field. Unfortunately, all of those points came in the first half, so it was really tough there at the start.
You bring up a good point. I know we're in the game already, but like I was really surprised how many people gave Houston a chance in this game. And I don't know if it was because you don't understand how good we are, or you have a gross misunderstanding of how not good Houston is. Right? Like I don't know if you just, and it's almost to the point where I'm like, did y'all just looked at the records and you didn't watch the games from either team, right? Because if you watch Tech versus Utah and you watched Houston versus Oregon State, I really see how you think it's close. You know,
Yeah.
I was actually. It's funny because I know I said it. We said in the chat. Like I predicted a 28-point win by Texas Tech, and U of H fans thought it was like I was just the biggest homer in the world. Like I was just being asinine. Like, oh man, look at this douche Texas Tech fan. I thought I was being modest. Yeah, I thought I was being modest. I'm like, yeah, 28 sounds like I'm kind of giving y'all a bit of credit here, right? Like if we're being real, we beat Utah by 24. And let's be real, Utah's a lot better than you guys, and that's a real road game.
Yeah, and if they would have heard my prediction at 56-13, I would have been, like this fool's like lost it, like he put him in a mental facility. And had we scored those touchdowns instead of field goals in the first half, 56-11.
So I will say this: I actually did a like woulda, coulda, shoulda of this game. Right. So like if we capitalized on our field goals, if we actually converted the got touchdowns on even the drives where we missed, we didn't Brendan Jordan didn't slip on the big touchdown pass. We're gonna go through all of that. We win this game, what did I 74-3 or 73-3? 73-3 is the final score. Like that's how many points we left on the board, by the way. So I think if you're like Mac Leftwich, you're saying we left more points on the board than we scored, right? So on one hand, you're saying, okay, well we can score on anybody. On the other hand, you're saying we got to clean some of this stuff up. So
did you have in your little mathing there? Did you have the Skylar Gill Howard fumble that he took to the house? That was
I didn't actually. 81-3. I didn't even have that one. So let's talking through the rest of the first quarter. So you mentioned as far as us settling. So we do get a fumble recovery, which was, it's great awareness by Ben Roberts to just pick the ball up. You've learned this since middle school. If it is questionable, pick the ball up. Replay showed us. You see the replay, and honestly, I think the refs kind of mentioned it. They didn't say call upheld. They didn't say play stands. They said play confirmed. That Connor Wegman threw that ball backwards, and Dean Connors did not pick it up. And I think that's a big miss by Dean Connors, who's usually a smart player, the running back for Houston. By not picking the ball up, Ben Roberts had better awareness, picked the ball up. But again, offense not able to capitalize, right? Great field position, and we have to settle for a field goal, right? Then a 3-and-out by the defense. You get the ball, you move the ball down a little bit, but once again, have to settle for a field goal. And it gets to the point now I'm like, okay, well, yay, we have a 2-possession lead, but guys, this should be 21-0 right now. And when Houston gets a field goal back, I do think, and it's not the first time this has happened, where it's almost like the offense needs a kick in the pants a little bit to convert. And Houston scoring that field goal and actually getting some traction on the defense, like getting some motion on defense, really being the first time all year that anybody scored any points in the first quarter, almost gave the offense a kick in the pants, or at least gave freaking Cam Dickey the kick in the pants to show off that speed and play like a number 8. I've been just talking about it earlier this season. If you're going to wear number 8, you got to play like a number 8. That little juke move to the house, you can wear number 8. You can be number 8 with that. So and Cam Dickey gets on the board and gives us a 15-3 lead at the end of the first.
Yeah, that was actually a really big play call by Mac Leftwich as well, because that these are those option routes, right? He was supposed to go out in the flat, and Mac said in the press conference yesterday that that turns into an option route if that guy comes in blitzing, so it turns into a straight go route on the middle of the field. And Morton hit him in stride, and then, one-on-one with a safety with like 15 yards of space in between you guys. I mean, Dickey's winning that 99% of the time. There's not any safety in America that's stopping him on that cut. And then for being 5'10", 215, running almost 21 miles an hour, I mean, that's impressive, So that was just, but all around from how Dickey read the read from that blitzer on the end, how Morton read it and got the ball out quick, and then the rest is Dickey and with the ball in his hands, and he's just as good. He's just as good with the ball in his hands as Jacoby is out in the open as well. So two dynamic running backs for this offense, especially in the open field. That one's a little bit more physical than the other one. The other's finesse, but both running backs would have scored on that play regardless.
Do you remember when everybody was crying about Quentin Joyner being out for the year? And we were all like, why y'all leave it? Like, relax. The benefit of Quentin Joyner is we have depth, right?
Yeah.
And that's we have 3 starting running backs on our roster, right? And hell, the way Adam Hill was playing at the beginning of the year, you can argue 4, right? Like, that's just how good this team is right now. Killing it. What you mentioned before also with Mac Leftwich talking about that option route also explains why he was going ballistic on the sideline. He just was so animated and excited and happy for Cam Dickey and the way he was able to read that, the way the whole offense was able to move on that 69-yard touchdown pass. That explains it, because that's when everything you've worked on is coming to fruition in one play.
Right. It's almost like to the point whenever those videos come out that Tech puts out about, the game itself, the brand, or all of that stuff, the Houston game, you got to see Leftwich doing what he does, in the sense is what you don't ever see Shill Wood do, other than behind closed doors when he's talking to his team. So this is like two
Jekyll and Hyde
contrasting coaches, because you see nothing from Shill Wood on the sideline, just straight face, like a military kind of guy. Behind the closed doors, I mean, he gives as heated and great speeches as I've ever heard,
Mm-hmm.
And then Mac Leftwich, he doesn't say anything in the locker room, but whenever you score a 69-yard touchdown on a pass, this dude's dead sprinting with Cam Dickey on the side.
Yeah, I'm like, hey, put some pads on, buddy. Like, yeah, man, he was booking it, absolutely. So
the message is conveyed the same way, though. I mean, you see it just 2 different ways that it's being delivered in. But man, the team responds so well to that stuff, and that's been so big for this football team. This entire season this far, and that's kind of where they hang their hat on. Keep on doubting us, and keep on putting that moniker of typical Tech on us, and we're going to show you why we're not.
Absolutely, and with that, one thing this team does is they stack having success. So right after that, interception from Jacob Rodriguez, and let me tell you, Jacob Rodriguez, athlete, buddy, athlete. Great interception, great way to read Wegman, because mind you, that wasn't his read. His read was the crossing receiver on the other side, read Wegman's eyes, flipped onto the other receiver, got the interception, leaps over, hurdles the defender, and takes it 26 yards. Like, that is incredible. And that's actually, there's certain plays when it happens, you're like, that's on the NFL highlight. That's on the NFL scout tape. That's what a scout is gonna take that play, say, this is why we have to draft this guy here in the 3rd round. This is why we have to. Don't. Hey, listen. Regardless of what all this other stuff is, in the 2nd round, whenever they want to draft Jacob Rodriguez, this is when somebody is bringing this to, let's say, Sean Payton of the Broncos, and saying, this is why we got to draft this guy. This play right here, and that's going to be the convincer.
Absolutely, and it's wild, to see a linebacker with those kinds of instincts. It almost is similar to how Jordan Brooks is playing in the NFL right now, just on an entire different level. Now, I don't know what award it is. Is it the Butkus or is it the Bednarik, the defensive?
Butkus is total defense, like just best defensive player, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. I think Bednarik is D-line.
Yeah, so whatever the one is for the linebacker, Jacob Rodriguez better be in that, because, I mean, he's playing out of his mind right now. I mean, just with so much leadership on the front end, on the back end, I mean, it's one of those things. Jacob Rodriguez is, the heart and soul. Like, he's this year's Tony Bradford. That's just kind of how.
Yeah, I like that.
Like a Texas Tech. Like, this is Mr. Red Raider for life. This is the guy. This is the brand on a player. A Bryce Ramirez, a Jacob Rodriguez. But Jacob Rodriguez is just one who shows it a little bit more on the field, just because he's earned that spot. So he's playing lights out.
I actually had it backwards. So the Bednarik is Defensive Player of the Year. Butkus is the linebacker. So it was the other way around. So and so let me tell you something. When it comes to the Butkus, at this point, he got to be leading it. He was already the Defensive Player of the Year in the Big 12, so he already has Like he already has everybody watch out for this guy, right? And then now it's to the point where I'm like, all right, well, Buckus, he's already on the list. What about the Bednar? What about the Nagurski? Like, it ain't just one award that he might be able to get. Like, let's see what else is out there for him because that's how much he's balling. So absolutely there. So right after that, again, Tech is able to really parlay that touchdown and stack success, and get parlay that interception, stack success, and get a touchdown. Of course, Jacoby Williams, quieting everybody down, and really from that moment on, Joe, game's over. From all intents and purposes, from at 11-11 in the second quarter, game's over. And you know how I know the game is over? Because everybody in my section stopped watching. We all just started hanging out. We all, Tech fans, Houston fans, section over. We all just started hanging out. People didn't necessarily leave, but it's, hey guys, it's a husband telling his wife, you want to get something to eat? You want to get the kids something to eat? I go get some concessions now. The game, for all intents and purposes, is over. If you're watching on TV, you notice fans, you didn't hear much ruckus. You didn't hear much of the home field advantage as far as like yelling when Baron Morton's on the field, right? I'll say this, and Baron made a funny comment when he was saying that we didn't have to use like the silent count once. Early in the game, you did see him put his hands to his helmet. After the first touch to field goal, whatever, it really went away. Like he was like, why am I even doing this? All right, second quarter on, game is really over. So from this point on, and game's over to the point where it almost felt like even the players on the field were just going through the motions at some point. And I'm talking about both Tech and U of H. All right, it's just, all right, let's just, all right. We still have to play 2.5 more quarters. So let's go ahead and do this game. And so, at halftime, we end up knocking. So I will say, Connor Wegman is going to the field goal. Connor Wegman does end up hurting himself, according to U of H. A lot of people thought he got benched because he was not playing well. And Zion Chris does come in the game. I will say this about Zion Chris because he throws the 64-yard touchdown on Amari Thomas. It was a good throw. All credit to Zion Chris, who's not a great passer. It was his second completed pass of the entire season. He ended up being their starting quarterback last year, I believe, and wasn't any good. Really struggled throughout the year, much more of a runner than a passer. It was actually a really good throw by him. So all credit. Good route by Amari Thomas. Brendan Jordan was kind of a step behind. It's not something he's going to really love when he watches film. And then, of course, he falls. If Brendan Jordan doesn't fall, obviously he's not a 64-yard touchdown. Is it still a completion? Probably, but it's not a touchdown. Just one of those things that happens. It's a little flukish. Good play call at the right time against a defensive play call. Good best pass I've ever seen from Zion Chris. And Brendan Jordan happened to fall down. We give up a touchdown. It's like, man, there goes the defensive. There goes the most points we've given up all year in the first 3 quarters. This is really how it looked at. It's like, well. Right.
I mean, that was a really good play call because Shilwood does something in this that kind of really stands out, and I guess it happens across the land, in any kind of level. New quarterback goes in. What's the very first thing you do?
Blitz him. You blitz him. Yeah,
exactly. We sent the farm. We sent the farm, and had Brendan Jordan not slipped, I don't know. I don't think Jordan has the top end speed. He would have had to make a shoestring tackle to get him down to the ground. I mean, just because Jordan's a hitter. Like he'll go and pop you.
So you saying that's one of them falls that how when sometimes you're trying to run faster than you actually are physically able to. I speak from experience. There's one I was running the fastest 40 I ever ran when I was in high school. I ran a 4.7, I ran a 4.7 in high school. If you're actually fast, you're like, man, that's slow. If you're slow, then you're like, oh, not bad. That's how I felt. I was like, damn, I ran a 4.7. I also fell across the finish line because I was running faster than I physically am able to. My body was like, what the hell are you doing? We can't put foot in front of foot this fast. So is that what you're saying happened to Brandon Jordan? His body was like, bro, we are not this fast.
No, because I don't want this to get back. I don't want to get this back to Brendan because me and him talk pretty frequently, just congratulatory stuff and stuff.
I'm just.
He makes the tackle, but
I think I do think
it's a foot race. I think he's losing it. I think he would admit that too.
Yeah, I do think he's making the tackle, and I do think I'll say this: Shilwood's probably like Shilwood was here last year, mind you. He's seen Zion Chris. He's like, I have never seen him throw a ball that well in my life. Like he was like Shilwood was banking on like if that entire play, if you told Shilwood, hey, we're gonna send the farm, this is the play they're gonna run, and Zion Chris is gonna have to make a throw to the deep post on the money. And Shilwood is probably taking that 10 times out of 10, knowing the quarterback that Zion Chris is. It was a great pass. Like we haven't seen that ever. So that happens. It does happen. And luckily you have a good offense enough to where that doesn't ruin you. I did lose. I went to the game with a good friend of mine, and I do have Stone Harrington. I got beef because I told my friend you were going to make this 44-yard field goal, and I did a Whataburger bet, and I owed him Whataburger afterwards because of the miss. But I will say all that to say that's where we were at in the game. We were betting Whataburger because the game was over. 25-11 at halftime. Second half, some fun intricacies happened. Had an incredible interception by Zion Chris, and that's what he's more known for is those interceptions. But by Brendan Jordan, a little redemption there for Brendan Jordan getting the interception back. We ended up getting a touchdown later in the game for Jacoby Williams with great Martin. If you don't understand the reference for that touchdown that Jacoby Williams did, loved it. Absolutely loved it. And so the game's over. Texas Tech wins 35-11 in the second half. Let me tell you, and it's funny again I will say I do love the Scott Holman podcast. If you are a fan of Big 12 football, if you want to listen to what happens at Houston, please go listen to the Scott Holman podcast from UH. Great, one of my favorite podcasts on the 10-12 network. That being said, I made a mention how I thought that the U of H fans would be leaving in the third quarter. And again, they thought that it was blasphemous. How dare you? What kind of cocky a-hole are you? U of H fans started leaving in the third quarter. Okay? I know how this is going to work. They started leaving in the third quarter. So most people didn't even see the Jacoby Williams touchdown. It was a Texas Tech party in the fourth. Right? And so yeah, that's just how the game went.
I heard the neighborhood that this football field's at is pretty sketchy at night. So maybe they're just trying to get home a little bit sooner.
There's a little bit of that, to be honest. You're not wrong. All right, listen, I love Third War, but I also ain't staying in Third War too much later. You know what I mean? So that's funny. So you're not wrong. But yeah, no, it was a Tech party. It was a Tech party at night, and Texas Tech wins 35-11. In a game where offense did not play well. Like that's the crazy thing about it. We won by 24, and the offense did not. I would, if I had to rate the offense, C+. All right, like it didn't play up to its ability. Barron talked about it after the game that we haven't hit the level that we need to yet. And it just is a game that they just didn't play as well as we know that they can. So if they can put up 35 points, and a buddy, I'm in another group chat, and a friend that didn't watch the game, he's not really a fan of either team, but he lives in Houston, and he was basically talking about how Tech whooped up on U of H, and I was like, yeah, but offense really didn't play well. He was like, y'all didn't play well, and I still put up 35. I'm like, yes, we didn't play well, still put up 35. We left a lot of points on the table, like we mentioned. So yeah.
If I were to ask you, in the last 8 quarters that Texas Tech football has played, how many of those were good quarters? Would the bad outweigh the good?
Defense or offense? Because I think defense has played tremendous.
In
whole.
From an offense, no. Let's just do an offensive perspective.
So defense, I would absolutely say yes. We've I don't know a bad quarter we've had with the starters in. The backups haven't had great quarters, but starters defensively, I don't think we've had a bad quarter. Offensively, though, to your point, the fourth quarter against Utah was incredible. And the first halves of the first few games have been good. But yeah,
But if you're gauging the 2 road games in the Big 12, that the offense,
one
I
great
think I
quarter.
think you could argue that it's only at best 2 quarters out
Two,
of the
yeah,
8 quarters that the offense has played mediocre. And then this is wild also because one of those quarters, Barron's not even playing.
yeah, yeah. So we know this team can hit another level. There's a couple
Oh,
things,
absolutely.
especially offensively, that I look into. One, I would argue the O line, like the penalties, have to stop. Discipline wise, I think we really struggle with these penalties, and not just the false starts, but false starts, delay of games, offensive holdings. Like we're making pants to the face. It's not just the O line, the receivers, Barron, the entire offense. We've got to clean up the penalties. We don't see it as much on the defensive side of the ball. Funny enough, defensively have done a really good job of cleaning that up, but offensively, got to clean up the penalties from this team. I think that's one thing that's holding us back. And overall, also, I do question sometimes. I do sometimes feel like the team doesn't always help out Barron like they need to. A great example of this is Cam Dickey's 69-yard touchdown run. You called it. Barron hit him in stride, and he helped him out. O-line protected it very well. Barron got the ball out quickly. We were good to go. Some other plays, right? And when I say some other plays, sometimes some of these option routes for the receivers, you gotta get it a little bit more cerebral. I think Caleb Douglas, when he's killing it, Caleb Douglas, I still think is one of the best receivers in the Big 12. I really do believe that. But I do think with a lot of these option routes, it is sometimes taking him out of his funk. And it's not a Mac Leftwich thing. It is a Caleb, you gotta work on it a little bit harder thing. Help him out. We talked about the Koi Eakin interception against Utah. Got to help out Barron a little bit more there. Flip side of that, Barron got to have a little bit more anticipation. So there's still a lot more that this offense can go and grow and get better in that we know they can. I'm not just saying these things with expecting them to like when I say Barron needs still a little bit more anticipation, I'm not saying that because I don't like in a scenario where he can't do it. If Donovan Smith was still here, I don't think y'all have ever heard me once say, "Hey, Donovan Smith, can you throw with more anticipation?" Because he can't do it. We know that. So why am I going to tell him to do that? Right? But I know Barron can. We've seen him do it. Right? So and so we just need to do it more consistently. That's the only thing that now that this team is as good as we know they are, right? We can't lull ourselves into, we're playing Houston, we're playing Kansas, we're playing UCF, we're playing West Virginia. That is no longer the goal, right? The goal is we got Arizona State, we got BYU, we got the Big 12 championship game, and we got potentially the college football playoff. These are the games where we got to make sure that we are on our P's and Q's in these other games to make sure that we're crisp for everything else that is coming up that are going to really put us to the test.
Yeah, the only thing that's going to stop this team is this team.
Yeah,
there's not
facts.
I don't really see when, especially on the defensive side. I think if our defense is playing like that, 4 quarters every game, I think we could hang with anybody in the country. But if we start letting those like the penalties for sure on our offensive side just start negating anything that this offense is trying to do or put points on the board, we'll run into that team that is equally matched, and it'll become a problem. And obviously we're only 2 conference games in, but this is all mental stuff. This is all things that could be fixed. You can't become stronger without lifting. This is just a mental part of the game itself, the fundamentals of football, right? And I believe that this football team has all of the capabilities of going out and doing this. But man, it's going to have to show up, because some of these back end games here, like we're getting that stretch where, we see some pretty big dogs in this. And I'm not even discounting Kansas State, other than the fact that if Matt Wells is still on the offensive coordinator, then I'll feel we're still be all right. But
to that point,
a mobile quarterback.
To that point though, even K State, it's a talented team. It's a true road game. Like they're not just going to lay over. In all their games, they've been losing games, but it's been close. Like it's not like they're just some scrubs. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
it's a really good point.
You have Arizona State, you have BYU, you have Kansas State, Oklahoma State's in there somewhere.
I mean,
UCF
no,
was
that
sprinkled
one.
in there. But the
No.
biggest game that I had called earlier in my preview for the entire season was the West Virginia game at the end of the season.
Really?
Yeah, just because I mean, you get it, you're traveling, you have to fly into one place, drive into another place, late
Mm.
November, the weather could be a situation like that was the biggest worry on my the like this is the game that puts you in the Big 12 championship or not puts you in the Big 12 championship and this
I
was
would.
also whenever I was still kind of feeling the typical tech mentality and I've kind of ridded myself since then.
It's funny actually with that game. It's less about typical Tech and more. I thought coming into the season, this team, West Virginia team, would be pretty bad. They're even worse than I thought they would be. It's a really bad team. So I'm like, I think I'm okay. Like I agree with you with everything else, right? On a normal West Virginia year, and actually, I even argue, give it a year or two, and maybe West Virginia comes up. Whoever their quarterback is now is not going to be a starting quarterback next year. The way I look at it is that they're now on their third quarterback for the season, and their starter already announced, "Hey, I'm not going to be here next year." The backup might as well do the same. And then, so yeah. Some stats for this game: Baron Morton, 28 for 40, 345 yards and a touchdown. Jacoby Williams, 19 carries, 170 yards and 2 touchdowns. I didn't know it was possible for Jacoby Williams to have a quiet 100-yard, 2-touchdown game, but he did. Cam Dickey had a very loud 21 carry, 98-yard game, as well as for Cam Dickey, of course, the 69-yard touchdown to the house. Caleb Douglas, 7 catches, 114 yards in his biggest game of the season so far. Coy Eakin, 10 catches, 81 yards himself. Reggie Virgil, 4 catches, 45 yards. Terrence Carter, 3 catches, 26 yards. Defensively, 6 tackles for Ben Roberts. Jacob Rodriguez, 5 tackles, 2 tackles for loss and an interception. John Curry, 5 tackles. AJ McCarty showing up on the board, 4 tackles. AJ Holmes met his family while I was in Houston. 4 tackles, a tackle for losses. He has a little mini reunion himself. Remember, he played for UH last year. And then David Bailey. I mean, this wasn't fair. This game wasn't fair. David Bailey just massacred them in this game. 3 tackles, 2 sacks, and an added tackle for loss as well. Actually, the whole D-line. Man.
I mean, if you want to call out a specific player.
Yeah, but the whole D-line. Like this, oh, God. It was, and we talked about in the preview, man. We knew this was going to be a bloodbath on the Houston O-line, but you got your quarterback killed. Connor Wegman didn't survive a half. This was bad. On the flip side for Houston, Connor Wegman, 5 for 12, 71 yards. Zion Chris, 5 for 13, 93 yards, and a touchdown. Both quarterbacks threw an interception each. He had a fumble from Dean Connors, technically. It was Dean Connors that was awarded that fumble. Zion Chris did have 7 carries, 59 yards. Dean Connors, who I did think was the X factor for Houston coming into the game, and he was an L factor. 13 carries for 31 yards in this game. Not much. Amari Thomas, 2 catches for 70 yards and a touchdown, but really the 64-yard touchdown pass was virtually all of the 70 yards. Not much there. So not much really to hang your hat on there. Joe, who would be your offensive player of the game for Texas Tech?
Offensive player of the game would be Cam Dickey. Just, running the ball and catching it out of the backfield. His blocking was pretty solid, too, on the game whenever he was called on for pass protection. So he's, true sophomore. I mean, he's steadily getting better. Working behind Taj Brooks, being a similar kind of built as Taj Brooks last season and, getting to watch that and how to be a true professional. And even the addition of Coach McGuire's son, to the running backs.
Oh, yeah.
He's done a phenomenal job with the running backs that we have, including Adam Hill, Quentin Joyner up into that point before he got injured. Jacoby Williams is he's just a master class with the ball in his hand. So, but give me Cam Dickey for offensive player of the game.
I've been waiting all year to be able to say this guy for my offensive player of the game, but give me CDZ, Caleb Douglas, CD, first 100-yard receiving game of the season. Really great to see. Ball into him consistently. He won his matchups consistently. And we talked about him really dominating these option routes. I think he's starting to finally get it. And he's like I mentioned it in the preseason pod, he has the NFL build. I believe he has the NFL talent. He's going to need more games like this, but really good job for him offensively in this game. Joe, who's your defensive player of the game?
Jacob Rodriguez. It's kind of like the easy choice here. I could probably go on AJ McCarty as well because he kind of stepped in there at points in the game whenever they removed Jacob Rodriguez, whenever he had that little tightness in his calf. And they moved John Curry in and they brought AJ McCarty in. I saw him flying to the ball multiple times, making plays in the backfield. He's doing whenever he's called upon. So I'll stick with Jacob Rodriguez just for this game itself. But AJ McCarty wasn't far behind him in my eyes. I mean, David Bailey would be a pretty easy choice as well, just given who was going against some 7th grade left tackle over there. Lubbock people will know him as Dalton Merriman.
Dalton Merriman.
Yeah. But it's just Jacob Rodriguez, like I said, man, he's everywhere. And with the help of this defensive front itself, it's just making him that much better of a player. Doesn't have those blocks coming to him on the second level. He's able to anticipate and attack. And I mean, I think his speed is very it's not talked about a lot. Jacob Rodriguez's closing speed to make a tackle and how sure tackling he is man, are we linebacker university? Like, I mean, it almost feels like in a sense, if you start thinking about some of the guys we've had here. But man, watching Jacob Rodriguez, it's going to suck whenever it's done. It's just going to suck whenever it's done. But he's great.
We haven't really talked about it much lately, but I know a couple of years ago, Jeremy and I did talk about the fact that we haven't had a bad linebacking unit as long as I can remember. Even in our bad defensive years, our linebackers were always good. Like, no matter what, our D-line can be awful, secondary can be awful, but the 2 or 3 guys in the middle, we're like, all right, we're at least good there. Problem is, when your D-line is awful and your secondary is awful, no matter how good your linebackers are. So before. Now we got it all 3 levels. So David Bailey's who I got as my player of the game and defensively. Really, the whole D-line absolutely dominated. It's funny you made that joke about Dalton Merriman because I was talking to a buddy of mine before the game, and I was like, yeah, man, Houston's O-line's not very good. And he was like, only reason I know you're right is because they have Dalton Merriman starting. That's what he said. So I was like, well, but all happens is Merriman goes down the long list of former Tech players that play at U of H starting and that really struggle when they play against Tech again. It's a long list. The list is very long. So to end that one, Texas Tech winners 35-11. Let's make our way around the Big 12 this past Saturday. Friday night, West Virginia at BYU. BYU continues to look like I think everybody's now finally come around to know that Texas Tech is likely the best team in the Big 12. But I think the consensus now is that BYU is probably second. And if I had to do tiers, I would say that Texas Tech is the odds-on favorite, but BYU is the one true contender. The favorite to get to Arlington to face the Red Raiders, and we do play them in the regular season at home, and that'll be a very interesting game to see how that works. But BYU was able to beat West Virginia. Khalil Wilkins playing getting his first start for Rich Rodriguez. Not terrible considering, but still. Bear Bachmeier, 351 yards. He might be coming around a little bit. What do you think about this game?
Yeah, I mean, it stayed relatively close for a while there as well. I mean, West Virginia wasn't like they weren't getting beat down by any means. I mean, they were getting beat up, but they weren't getting beat down. And then with Parker Kingston, that dude is like Danny Amendola on crack. Like he boy could move. Like, or you remember Ryan Switzer from North Carolina way back in? That's kind of, I get those kind of vibes from him whenever he has the ball in his hand. He's just a tough guy to bring down. I wasn't expecting West Virginia to go in there and pull the upset. And to your point, I believe BYU is right on up there. If you're tiering the Big 12, they're right on up there with Texas Tech, and
so I have
we're because offensive side we're number 1, they're number 2. Defensive side we're number 1, they're number 2. I mean, it's
right there. So I have a firm belief that no such thing as moral victories unless you suck. then you can do a moral victory. And congratulations, West Virginia. This was a nice moral victory for you. So there's that. Next up, Iowa State, another team that a lot of people had as contenders, right? And actually, I would have argued before Saturday that Iowa State and BYU are right on the same level. I can no longer have that argument. Iowa State losing at Cincinnati. Is this game more of Iowa State not being who we think they are, or is it more of Cincinnati being much better than we thought they were?
I'll give credit where credit's due because, I mean, we've seen Brendan Sorsby play whenever Cincinnati came to Lubbock last year. I mean, and the kid's a baller. I mean, Dante Corleone as the anchor of that defensive line for Cincinnati. I mean, I think Cincinnati wasn't given enough credit in the preseason and up until this point. And, and Iowa State, let's call it for what it is. They haven't been necessarily beating people down either. I mean, they've had some pretty close games as well that were like, what was the game where they traveled to like Arkansas State and almost lost that game earlier in the season, like the second game of the year.
Yeah.
And it was, they haven't shown enough. I mean, yeah, they had the record at that point in time, but it wasn't impressive. And Cincinnati, I think, is just doing a little bit more. And things going to be interesting because they have a pretty favorable schedule moving forward, and they could still surprise some folks.
So Joe, we have this year we debuted the Contenders Lounge. So it's a lounge of who can actually contend for the Big 12 championship. Texas Tech has actually last week was promoted to the national championship contender VIP area. Yeah, we brought them up there last week. There, and they get to stay there after this beatdown of Houston. But on the lounge in the Big 12 Contenders Lounge, BYU is still on the couch. They're comfy, right? Iowa State, I think, after this game, still gets to stay in the lounge, but you got to get up off the couch. You're no longer as comfy on the couch. You can stand up. You can still drink a little bit, but you're not as comfy. But Cincinnati, you know what? I think it's time. And I get shout out to Jeremy because he actually called this a little bit. Big fan of Brendan Sorsby. Cincinnati, welcome to the Contenders Lounge. I think Cincinnati is they are 1 win away from being or 2 wins away, but they're currently on track to be the first freshman 4 team to get bowl eligible in the Big 12, right? The 4 teams, or the AAC teams, I should say, not the freshman 4, but the AAC teams, Cincinnati, Houston, and UCF. Those 3 teams have had losing seasons both of the first 2 years in the Big 12. Cincinnati may be the first to actually have a winning season. They look really good. Welcome to the Contenders Lounge, Cincinnati. And welcome to being talked about as arguably one of the best quarterbacks in the Big 12, Brendan Sorsby. Jeremy believed in you when nobody else did, because I know I didn't.
Same.
Kansas State at Baylor. Kansas State, a team that got kicked out of the Contenders Lounge weeks ago. Baylor, a team that is in the Contenders Lounge, but boy, do you barely like to be in there. Baylor, can you look as bad as you do in a win? Because I kind of want to kick you out of the lounge. I ain't gonna lie to you guys. What did you think about this 1-point win by the Bears?
Baylor's that group in the Contenders Lounge that spilled something on the white rug.
Yeah.
Man, come on, man. You gotta get out of here. It's just, man, it's hard. I mean, especially the pictures and videos that are coming out of the fans in the stadium and things like that. I mean, man, it almost looks like, is that even real? And it's crazy. It's crazy because Sawyer Robertson is playing at a different. I mean,
yeah,
you got to give credit where credit's due, and he's doing everything he could do as a starting quarterback, and for this to happen, it's I guess on the defensive side of the ball mostly. But man, it's tough to call because they were one of those dark horse picks for a lot of people that they could potentially make a run for Arlington this season, and man, it's so Jekyll and Hyde what they do on the football field, and it's just crazy. But Sawyer Robertson's having a good year, and I guess that would probably be the lone bright spot with what's going on.
He can only do so much, right? And what happens with good quarterbacks is, and I've already seen him do it a few times, is where he's forcing it because he's having to do so much. The receivers aren't helping him. The O-line's okay, but he's having to do so much, and he's almost forcing it. The interception he had in this game felt like one of those moments where he's like, I'm just trying to do whatever it takes to get this win. And so, yeah, not only is the lone bright spot, you could argue he's the only bright spot. Or I guess only and lone mean the same thing. But like he's kind of bringing everything up by himself in that essence. So,
you know what I would do an analogy of that? Did you ever watch the Spider-Man movie, like the early Tobey Maguire Spider-Mans? Yeah. You remember that scene where he's trying to stop the train shooting?
Yeah.
That's Sawyer Robertson holding everything together.
Basically. Basically. Like and there's only so much he can do. There's only so much he can do there. So Oklahoma State at Arizona. Oklahoma State continues to be awful. It doesn't matter who the head coach is. Just a bad team. I don't. Yeah. No. So Jeremy has argued Arizona deserves to be in the lounge for the last couple of weeks. Let me tell you something. I don't necessarily disagree with Jeremy, but however, beating Oklahoma State is not entry into the Arizona State. Arizona. Sorry. You still got to stay in line, but you're next in line. You just got to beat somebody and prove it. Somebody who's worth it. Noah Fafita did look good in this game, though, 376 yards. But you're playing it's a scrimmage. You're playing a JV team at this point.
I think that's good for Noah, though, because you know how much pressure he was on last year to perform. As you know, he was picked as offensive, potentially a dark horse for offensive player of the year, based on how he had played in the pack the year towards the end of the season, the previous year. And I think this is him just being able to come back into his own. Yes, it was a very, very weak opponent, but that's what you're supposed to do. It's half games like that. But Noah Fafita's kind of got his feet under him, and it's actually been good to watch him play well again. He's a really nice guy. I actually had a chance to chat with him at the Big 12 Media Days. He's a really down to earth kid, so kind of cheering for him from the side, except for whenever he plays Tech, if that happens again. But yeah.
That ain't happening this year.
Yeah. Not this year. No.
Yeah. Colorado at TCU. TCU, nice win, 35-21 over Colorado, a team that I don't think Colorado knows who they are. I don't think they know who they want to be. But Caden Salter did play in this game, 217 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and a lot of but he was much better on Twitter and in social media arguing against fans than he was on the field. But again, at the same time, I don't really know how much more Caden Salter can really do. The team isn't good. Like the team that we saw last year versus the team we're seeing this year with Colorado, night and day. And I think a lot of people are pointing to the fact that Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter aren't there anymore. But the difference, like those two players weren't that great. Like it's a night and day difference, and I don't necessarily know what the cause of it is. But Colorado just looks like the Colorado team that was here before Deion Sanders got here. Really bad right now.
I mean, you're getting half of the field back, right? Travis Hunter took half of the field, like as an offensive player and as a defensive player. It's just now you have a defense that actually has to cover the entire field instead of half of it, because you don't have a Travis Hunter out there. And they're just not a good football team. I mean, it's just not good.
Yeah.
It's just, there's no other way to sugarcoat it. I mean, they're just I wouldn't put them in the range. I wouldn't put them on the same level as Oklahoma State, but I mean, as far as dysfunction and how everything's being ran there at the program, like it doesn't, especially with, the third string quarterback, coming in against Rhode Island and then starting against Houston and then being pulled, like what the hell's going on over there?
Yeah, and at this point, I feel like if you're on Marion Miller, who is the only positive on this team. I was going to say on this offense, but really on the whole team, just get yours. Just get yours. Is he eligible for the NFL draft this year? Let me see here. Yes, you are. Get yours. Get to the league. Because at this point, and he did. He had a good game. 89 yards, 2 touchdowns in this game against TCU. Flip side, Josh Hoover is starting to come along. And I can't remember whether we had TCU in the lounge or not, but I do think they deserve to be in a little bit. TCU's having a decent season so far. I still don't know if I trust them as a full team just yet. However, they're playing well enough And they're starting to really abide by the system that Sonny Dykes has embedded. Josh Hoover is the perfect quarterback for that system, and he's starting to really spread the ball around overall. So TCU looking pretty decent.
Yeah, looking pretty decent, and I don't want to give credit to this dude, but I have to kind of give him some semi credit. It's just kind of with the Josh Hoover thing, like you said. But Kendall Briles is actually calling some pretty decent games as far as for the offense there for TCU. It's not terrible, and Hoover's just executing on a different level. So,
so the team Tech's about to play next week, the Kansas Jayhawks winning at UCF. So Oklahoma State's the worst team in the conference, right? Who's second worst? UCF? West Virginia? Colorado? Either way, Kansas barely beating UCF. I know it's a road game and it's a far distance, so I kind of want to give them some grace. But again, this is one of those games where a win is technically a win, but buddy, you did not look good doing it.
Not at all.
And we talked about players doing it all by themselves. Jalen Daniels attempting to do it all by himself.
Yeah, and that's not a recipe for success on any level. I mean, their defense is atrocious though. Like, it's bad. And now Jalen Daniels is having to compensate for having a terrible defense, and sometimes he tries to overdo it. And this is the outcome. This is the kind of games you're going to get. So, yeah, not good, Bob. Not good at all.
Not good at all. It was actually UCF was up at halftime, 20-14. And in this game, when in the third quarter, Kansas comes ahead, they're winning 27-20. Let me give you the scenarios from the final touchdown, and actually how Kansas got the lead was because of a UCF fumble. So I think I'm steadfast in thinking that UCF is the second worst team in the conference. But UCF gives up a fumble. Kansas scores a quick touchdown. And from this point on, it's 27-20, mind you. If you're UCF, you need a touchdown to tie the game. If you're Kansas, you need a touchdown just to feel comfortable. Both teams need points. Joe, it was UCF punt, or UCF 3-and-out, Kansas 3-and-out. UCF with only ended up punting after just getting 2 first downs. Kansas 3-and-out. UCF turnover on downs after they actually got into the red zone to the 1 yard line and weren't able to put it in. And another Kansas 3-and-out, another turnover on downs by UCF. That's how the game went. So I think if you're watching this game, and admittedly I didn't watch the entire game, I just kind of watched the highlights and the recap of it all because I love myself. But if you did watch this game, I'm sorry, but it seems to me that Kansas was outplayed and just got lucky because they were playing the second worst team in the conference. That's what it seems like to me. And that's not a great recipe when you're about to play the best team in the conference the very next week.
On the road.
On the road, yeah. So safe to say this is going to be another relaxing weekend. So, Joe, before we get out of here, because I know we're almost at time, we're recording this actually Tuesday evening, a day or two later than we usually do. Big news came out today. And the bevel has been leveled. Brand new rebrand coming out. Joe, we'll be able to talk about it a little bit more on the preview pod. But what are your initial reactions to the rebrand, to the new logo, or the new old logo, the modern twist on the old logo, the whole package? What do you think?
I like it. I like it a lot. I mean, just it's almost, whenever I initially saw what they were doing and things like that, it said, phase 2. So phase 1 had already happened. So then that was obviously the move to Adidas, right? That was phase 1. And kind of the writing was kind of starting to show itself after you started looking into it a little bit more. And then whenever the picture came out of the basketball court with the beveled double T and the flat, the old school and stuff like that, then it starts really like, man, this would be pretty cool all athletics wise, and then surprise, surprise, it comes out all athletics wise. And it's just, I'm a fan of it. There's some different logos out there with Texas Tech that I like that we haven't seen before. Now, granted, and I hate bringing this up, but I know it's been brought up a lot on Twitter that I've seen is the comparisons to Oklahoma State doing the same thing with Pistol Pete. Pistol Pete, blah blah blah. Pistol Pete doing this, Pistol Pete doing that. Now Raider Red's going to be having his own kind of branding in everything. There was one I saw earlier of meat judging. It was Raider Red with a machete, and he was holding a piece of meat and said "meat judging" on his shirt. Awesome. I mean, it is awesome. But man, whatever it takes, I think a rebrand on this scale wasn't necessary. But if you're going to do it, you got to do it big, right? And with Adidas and Mahomes still being all fully involved in this, I think why not? So I'm not mad at it. If that's what you're asking, definitely not mad at it.
They Cracker Barreled my logo, Joe. They Cracker Barreled it up. All right. So I'm not a fan of it. I don't like it. I like I will say this though. I noticed this is that because somebody had tweeted out and it says, "I wonder if your opinion on the bevel or not the bevel or which logo is depending on generations." And somebody tweeted back saying like, "No, the younger people like it too." And maybe that's true. However, I do believe if you went to school in tech in the 2000s, you are more likely to love the beveled logo than the flat logo. I'm not saying you definitely do, but I'm saying you're more likely to. Me, a lot of in my group chat with some friends of mine from tech when I was in school, a lot of us agreed we loved the logo because, the logo to us represents prosperity. It represents lead years. It represents us being the number 2 team in the nation. It represents Crabtree. It represents Mahomes. It represents all of that, right? But if you went to school prior to what would that have been, like 99 or whenever we switched over or in the late 90s, if you went to school prior to that, you are fond of the flat logo. And if you're younger, the logo doesn't represent prosperity. It represents, negative sports, right? So I can easily see that being the case. I've never really been a huge fan of the flat logo. I personally think the bevel logo looks a lot better. However, what I am a fan of is the complete rebrand. I like the idea of a rebrand. It was kind of obvious because of the switch to Adidas that we were going to, have to go towards a full rebrand. In general, we all knew that those initial jerseys that came out with Adidas was just the beginning of it, and they were going to eventually take over as an entire entity. And the best way to do that is this new rebrand, is this new logo, and all this other stuff. Another thing that I will say when it comes to this is that I was joking about them Cracker Barreling our logo. However, one of the things that a lot of people don't realize in the marketing aspect is that this type of flat iteration does allow marketing the flexibility to do whatever they want with the logo, right? This logo can fit in so many other different scenarios, different places, different colors, right? You can make it all black, make it all white, make it all red, you can play with it a lot more. It works much better digitally, which is a big reason why a company like Cracker Barrel wanted to do that rebrand in the first place, was because digitally the Cracker Barrel logo that everybody hated works much better digitally than the old one that they had before, right? That's a lot of reasons why a lot of these logos have been changing. It's for the digital footprint. It's for these ways to go around it. So if you're like in the marketing team in Texas Tech, I'm sure you absolutely love this because it gives you that much more flexibility and that much more ammo. And so that's the reason why Oklahoma State did it before. Let me tell you something. A&M has kind of already started doing this, though not officially. And I'm sure we're going to see them officially do it here pretty soon also. So though I'm not a fan of it, though I still like the beveled logo more, and I wish we didn't change it, I do get it. That doesn't mean I'm not going to, moan and complain on the way out.
So. Yeah, the colorways is really the game. This kind of sets it apart from the beveled. To me personally, just like you said, you could do an all white, all black, red here, red there, gray here, gray there, and you could kind of mess with that whole look. And from the digital standpoint, and I never even thought about it like that, to be completely honest. But I'm also not a marketing kind of person like that, so I like it. Just something different. There's, like I said, there's some cool logos that they've messed with. The double T with the Matador on there, like they have reimagined that. That's pretty cool with the whole digital outlook. And then there's one with the Raider Red, and he's holding a football. And that was really really cool to see. Maybe to throw that on a helmet, or like the softball team has those helmets with just Raider Red's face, on the front part of their baseball cap or their softball helmet. Like those stuff like that is really cool. That's unique and different, and that's a part of the whole rebranding and doing it the whole nine. I actually am ready to see what they do with at the softball complex, at the baseball complex, inside the indoor track facility, like how all of this takes shape over the next, because it's coming 2026. So I would assume it's coming in the next 5-6 months.
That's actually a really good point, though, because I assume 2026 meant the next school year. But if the basketball logo already has it on the basketball side, then that means that they don't really have to wait till the next school year. It could be just at the end of football season.
Right. And this also begs the question to see if we're going to see a Mahomes design jersey across the board in all tech sports. Because I kind of think that that's coming as well, because it's just football and baseball right now. So maybe we do, maybe we don't, but that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, one note I had is that you got to imagine the new jerseys will be coming as well, with everything. So that's so it'll be interesting to see how those new jerseys look, as well. So yeah, I will say I was very anti the Mahomes jersey last year, the grays. I've seen the whites in person. A lot of y'all have bought them. They're fire. The whites are fire. The whites are flames. The grays still are ugly. The whites, though, all right, Pat, you got me there. The whites look great.
Yeah, that white galvanized is dope. Like,
the whites are great.
And
somebody's gonna clip
really think
me
about
saying
it
the
well,
white.
I think
Somebody's gonna clip.
I think
I was gonna say,
BYU's wearing all blue that game. That we're just gonna.
Oh.
So the all white versus all blue kind of thing, that's going to look pretty damn good on the TV or there in the game. So
it's gonna be great. I was gonna say somebody's gonna clip me saying the whites are great. Take it out of context. Talking about the jerseys. The whites are great.
We'll just follow it up with 6 or 7, and maybe that keeps you off of that.
that's oh Lord Jesus, these children in the 6-7 nonsense.
Yeah.
Oh, it's gonna be the death of me. Anything else you want to say to people, Joe?
Oh no, man. Just appreciate you having me back on. For old time's sakes, this is just kind of a big stepping stone to where I'm currently at in my Texas Tech sporting coverage. This podcast was a big platform that you guys were able to allow me to use and propel me into this spot. So like I said, like I've always told you guys, that I wouldn't be here without you and Jeremy. So thanks for having me on, and like I said, I'd always come on anytime you guys ask. So yeah, much appreciated. And anytime you need a voice out there, buddy, I got you.
Oh, absolutely. And actually, I need a voice. You'll be back. Preview pod coming up as we preview Kansas at Texas Tech. So be on the lookout for that. They're coming out later this week. So for the Raider expert that is Joe Lopez, this is your boy Albie Joe, and you have been listening to the Tortillas and Takes podcast, part of the 1012 network. As always, stay wrecked, people.